update from our meeting last week on the urgency that we're taking to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can for the safety of our employees. The schedule in which, Commissioner Barkley, you're going to see this again this month. As you heard at the meeting, the bus operators and the union is very engaged in this. This morning, they're actually over at Hart. They were over at Hart, speaking in front of their board at their meeting this morning. And they have lots of different opinions about what they think of the pilot that we have out there now, and ways in which it might be better or safer, or they would like it. We debated with them whether or not we wanted to roll out the safety barriers slower so that we would get a variety of different kinds as samples here, and at least tentatively we're going to try to convince them not to do that. We've got a meeting scheduled with the union, the manufacturers of the Gillig bus companies, a big meeting this Friday that we are going to try to reach an agreement on a particular design for a bus driver barrier this Friday that everybody feels is we reach consensus on one particular design, and then move forward with equipping all PSTA vehicles with that barrier. So step number one is this Friday, June 7th, we would reach agreement with our union, with our employees on a design of a barrier that could be purchased. We're going to have our procurement team, Al Burns and Gillig, the bus company, there at the meeting. Then a week from, or 2 weeks from Wednesday, June 19th, the Finance Committee is going to meet, PSTA Finance Committee, and
June when?
June 19th. And the goal is by then we would have an action item to approve purchasing of these the selected barrier, whatever is selected on Friday. We will have a price quote and a contract ready to be recommended by the Finance Committee on the 19th to the PSTA board on the 26th. And I thought, oh yeah, here it is.
Can I ask a question, Brad?
And we believe that 60 weeks, it says 60 weeks, hopefully we can do it faster than that, we can get all 210 buses equipped with the barriers.
So, in the run-up to June 7th, where you're hopefully presenting this to the bus drivers and for them to reach an agreement on the design, what kind of input are you receiving that leads you to a specific design?
Well, that's a good question. We already conducted a survey of the bus operators before the board meeting last week, and asked some very basic questions. 95% of bus operators want some kind of barrier, but there is differing opinions on exactly the best kind of barrier. I mean, many bus operators, I would say the majority opinion is what Commissioner Barkley said earlier. They would like a bubble that would completely seal them off. But that is not commercially available. That's not commercially available.
Yeah.
So there's just a couple of different, what is commercially available and what we can expedite and get done is something that we can buy. that is made now. And so that's our goal, is to show them what's available, and to pick the very best one that can be done as fast as possible. That's the goal of Friday.
Go ahead.
Just, can I finish?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's okay. I guess my thought is, to me, any of these kind of things continue to be an evolving process or an evolving issue, because clearly there's probably a lot of our citizens that would wish we could encase ourselves in a bubble too, because we have never lived in a time when it has been so crazy in terms of the egregious things that are happening.
I know.
Correct?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, with that said, there's not enough money in the world to be able to guarantee 24/7, 365 days a week, everyone's safety.
Yeah, I agree.
So, go ahead.
Okay, my question is, at $5,000 a pop, my committee's gotta come up with the money for that.
That's why we have
I
our
wanna make
CFO's
sure that we
fund.
only do this once. So I'm a little concerned about rushing into this where we don't have enough input. And that was Madam Chair's point. Are we talking to our people, are we talking to our people from our bus networking group? Are we talking to people in Manhattan, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, other big cities where this has been a problem forever? I mean, if you ride the L in Chicago, or if you ride, a subway in Manhattan, those guys are in a locked room.
Yeah.
And I'm just reluctant to have to pull a newly implemented $5,000 frame out of a bus and put in another one. And so I want to be sure that if we're going to spend this kind of money, we're talking $1 million plus.
$1 million, $50,000.
Yeah, whatever. And the point is, I want to make sure that we're doing this the right way, and we need more input than just talking to our drivers and the hard drivers, because again, I don't want to have to do this a year from now. Pull those out and put something else in.
For example, what is APTA doing? I mean,
That's what I just
don't they
said,
have
yeah.
their fingers on the national scope?
They do. Right, we've reached out to our folks at APTA. We've already had a number of discussions. We have reached out through the state of Florida. This is on top of mind on everybody right now, because what happened in Tampa. It's the hot topic, and everybody, and certainly in Florida, is talking about it. We've talked to, I think, all the systems that are considering these things in Florida already. Nationwide, our benchmarking group specifically has given us a lot of input. We've had lots of discussions with the manufacturers. Of course, they're reaching out to Al, and knowing that we are very interested in this, talking to us. One of the most important people that we need to talk to is the bus manufacturer of our existing buses, because we're confirming, we believe there are only a very small number of barriers that Gillig, the bus company, has certified or believe can fit, in their vehicle. There are like you say, like trains, New York City and et cetera. And there are lots of ways in which you can enclose the operator of a vehicle, but they have to fit in the particular vehicle. And so the universe of options is narrowed down substantially when we're dealing with Gillig buses. So Gillig is coming to PSTA on Friday. He's gonna be here, gonna gonna present the available options to our group. They have a list for us of where they've been installed, the different kinds, and what the experience is. We have our own data we've collected. We've had a debate since last Wednesday. We've been debating what's the best option for PSTA, to either take 6 months to install the 2 or 3 different kinds, and get some feedback, and then make a decision. Because you're right, it is an expensive proposal. Or to make a decision and expedite the installation of these barriers on all the buses as fast as possible. And we reached the decision in collaboration with our employees, that we think it is so important to get these on all the vehicles as fast as possible, that they are understanding that they have to make a decision based on hopefully some actual real samples, seeing them, touching them, etc., or at least photos, rather than 6 months of driving around with them. We're going to make that decision on Friday and then move forward. As far as the funding, this is capital funding, thanks to our amazing award-winning finance staff and award-winning CFO, Debbie Leas. She has identified funding. We've reorganized our capital improvement program priorities and found we have the funding for this now identified. I know that Henry and Al have talked with some other transit systems then about making sure we meet all the procurement requirements, and following the lead of some other organizations. That's step number 2 that I don't have full answers on exactly, but we think we have a path that will take us between June 7th and June 19th, the Finance Committee meeting, so that we make sure we do everything we have to do procurement-wise. So I think we've got a really good plan. Now, if something along the way changes, I'll certainly alert the executive committee and the board. If the bus drivers and we just can't agree and we want to try something different or something, the consequence of that is that just delays what I think is since that fateful day, since something that we have to get done.
Yes.
Has Henry got the people to do this? Are we gonna have to pull people off of other jobs to?
Well, that's a whole nother issue that I know Henry's working on right now. Apparently, what we understand is that the company that makes these things will deliver them, but not install them. So we'll have to figure out, either hire a separate installer, which we've done in the past, or install them ourselves.
I would assume there's some kind of certification for this.
Yeah, and then they've got to be, the type has to be certainly compatible with the manufacturer of the bus.
No, I'm talking about, we've got to have people that are certified to do this installation so it's done correctly. And it'll operate properly. That'll be very moving parts, but it'll work the way it's supposed to.
Yeah, I mean, I know Henry, as of Friday evening, was telling me he's talking to the different manufacturers and other transit systems just to figure out the best course of action. And So we're really just trying to move this as quickly as we can.
Good?
Yes, thank you.
All right. Good job, Brad. I know it's very.
Yeah, I'm very thankful to,
And
we've got an
staff,
outstanding
and
staff
everybody
that
that's
is
working on
gonna
it.
get this
Thank
thing
you very
done.
much. Everybody, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so our board agenda.
You can see we've got quite a few things on the finance committee agenda already, including I'm sure will be a exciting discussion that Al will lead us on vehicle waste removal. Waste removal. That's for the finance. I'm sure those guys. Looking at the second page at the action items, there's some. You see the bus-
Wait. Are you just skipping over the state and federal lobbyist agreement?
Oh, so the finance committee last month, both our state lobbyist agreement and our federal lobbyist agreements, option year ends this month. I'm forgetting, in the case of, I believe it's the state lobbyist contract with RSA, we have one more option year we can exercise. No, 2 more years in that case. In the federal, Vanscoic, we have 1 more year we can exercise. The PSTA board, unlike 99% of the rest of our contracts, which gives the CEO, me, the authorization to exercise options, the board asked that for these lobbyist contracts, especially because these were new contracts when they first started, that we bring back approval for the option years to the board. So we had this on the agenda for the finance committee last month because we didn't have a legislative committee in May, and the finance committee deferred, and mainly just out of respect of the legislative committee, and did not recommend this to the PSA board because we're having a legislative committee meeting on Wednesday, and this is coming Wednesday, June 5th. So it was basically just pushed to the June meeting to exercise existing contract option years on both RSA and Vanscoic for another year each. And it was really more a procedural decision. I think, Commissioner Barkley, you can validate this. The Finance Committee just thought it would be appropriate for the Legislative Committee to make the recommendation.
Which is fine. My concern is the timetable for work to be done to set us up for next year, given that our next board meeting is the end of this month, correct?
Yeah.
6th,
And when do you meet again, Finance?
19th.
So we can definitely have it on the agenda for the 26th?
Oh, yeah.
Because
Mhm.
we gotta get we only have July and a little bit in August to put our plan together for next year.
No, I know, and I talked to both Ron Pierce and Harry, that they're not going to not do anything that we want them to do in the between June 5th and June 26th. It's no problem.
The only question we had was with regard to the payment amounts, because they're different. The state one's a little higher than the federal. That's the only thing.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So,
The amount we pay our state lobbyists is slightly higher than what we pay our federal lobbyists, which
seems weird.
seems a little bit
Very odd.
Mhm.
It's largely due to the fact that we actually have 2 different companies working for us in Tallahassee, and you know sort of the history of that. And then we have 1 company in DC.
Other than that, there's nothing really significant there. And if they're happy with the numbers, then we'll go ahead and let that be presented to the board.
We'll talk about it.
And then it'll really be a recommendation of the legislative committee, whether they feel that should be a consent agenda item or be on the regular agenda for discussion at the board meeting. That's the way the finance committee operates, that they recommend contracts and things, and then they say, well, that's a fairly routine issue that can go on consent, or that's something that we think needs full board discussion. If there's no other questions on page 1, I'll just speak a little bit about the page 2 action items. 6A and 6B, preliminary engineering and final design services contract for the BRT. Hello, Abhishek, perfect timing.
Perfect
Hey,
time.
perfect timing.
And 6B, funding agreement with St. Petersburg. Those are both very positive, exciting items that shows progress with our bus rapid transit project. The contract with the engineers for the bus rapid transit project was set up as a task order contract. We have 2 contracts, one with Lochner Engineering, who's actually doing the design of the bus rapid transit project, and one with HDR Engineering, who's providing project management and oversight services. We set a preliminary design as one task with the specific goal of coming back to the board for final design. So this is this will approve final design services for the project. This will go to the finance committee first, and then to the board at the end of the month. And it's momentous in that case, because this will actually get the project fully designed and constructed with this work. 6B is also exciting because
He's sighing at me. I don't think that's necessarily a good thing.
6B is a positive thing as well. On the 13th of June, Thursday the 13th, before the finance committee meets and planning committee, the city of St. Petersburg will be approving a funding agreement that will lock down $4 million worth of funding
From the city?
from the city of St. Petersburg for this project.
Good job.
All right?
Yeah.
Good for them.
Yes, it'll
I know,
hopefully
he's
will be
just
a positive
dying.
react.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
You have a meeting coming up with St. Pete Beach. St. Pete Beach could hold up this whole project if we don't get them in line with everybody else. And I'm just concerned about at some point delaying the project or something, or even deleting the project, because we're relying on federal money and they're going to want all the pieces in place if we've got an uncooperative player here. So we really need to figure out what's going on and have an alternate plan if they decide they're going to bail. So that's an important issue that we're overlooking here. We can't have the game being changed at the last minute because we just assumed these guys were going to cooperate and then they decide not to. And we've got some recalcitrant members of their board, and they're getting a lot of negative input from outside forces. And we need to find out what's going on with that.
So, thank you so much for bringing that up. On my way here this morning, this is fresh off the press, because I just got done with the conversation. I had a conversation with the mayor, again, in St. Pete Beach. And I assured him, Brad and I started talking, and I haven't talked to you in a few days, but you know, things change daily around here, we're working with Pinellas County government to figure out what public entity that Pinellas County owns or has influence on that we could use to turn our buses around. And as long as we get them past the resorts to be able to turn them around, we are fulfilling our public agency obligation to our citizens to stay very laser focused on doing the right thing for the right reason for the most amount of people. That said, the mayor brought up, well, we'd really like to take over as much as we can the transportation needs for our city with little golf cart type things. And is there any possibility we could just stop the service at 75th? And I said, that does nothing for the citizens who rely on that transportation to go back and forth to work. It's their economic livelihood that we are trying to rise up. And on top of that, it doesn't help the tourists that are trying to leave the beach and go downtown to downtown St. Pete. He clearly got that. What he is continuing to have, want to focus on is how many of those buses are always empty. To which I said, I thought this was very, brilliant. I lived in Manhattan for a very long time. There were many periods during the day where you could see those gigungous buses going up and down the streets with hardly anybody on them. There were also times of the day when they were packed to the gills and it was standing room only. So you can't run a public transit system, based on a particular kind of day. And there's no way to, he wanted to know how many riders we pick up on Central Avenue. So by the time it gets to 75th, there's nobody on the bus. Well, I think you get my point. And, we had a nice candid conversation and I just said, we're gonna partner with the county. We don't have to involve the city in terms of our turning the buses around. And I feel quite certain we'll come up with a solution. Well, then we talked about the difference between a workshop and a council meeting, and I've been an elected official for a long time, and my understanding, there is a reason why you call it a workshop, and it's for the electeds, the staff, and other quasi-governmental agencies to present, and you have an opportunity to question and learn and so on and so forth. But if you're just going to turn it into another council meeting, what is the point? So we got past that and talked about the next meeting coming up. Good luck with that, Brittany. Where we're supposed to be presenting. Then he wanted to know if there was an opportunity for you, Brad, Abhishek, maybe the county attorney or the engineer, Raheem, I'm thinking, to sit and talk about options. I said, well, you're happy to, I'm sure they're happy to meet with you, but right now we're all about getting something done. And I said, the other thing to keep in mind there is it's important to recognize that this is the first link in a very big vision to connect our entire region. So, it's not about today that we're making these decisions. It's about the future for our citizens and our grandkids, and that they can enjoy the same quality of life that we have.
Yeah, and did he seem to appreciate that?
He did. I said, you know what? I get that your folks are, they can't, it's kind of the chicken and the egg. They like their lifestyle, but they don't want any tourists there. Well, that horse has left the barn, and I don't think it's going to get corralled again. So, it's a very global destination in the world, St. Pete Beach. People aren't gonna stop going there. You can't put up a fence. And oh, by the way, you sure enjoy all those millions of dollars of sand that we put on your beaches every year. If you don't want the tourists, what are we doing that for?
And what about the revenue from the tourism? You can't live without it, so.
Well, by the way, when I met with him, I brought a white paper that showed all the millions of dollars that we dumped into St. Pete Beach from Pinellas County government to Commissioner Finnerty's little remark. I sure wish the county would step up and help out every now and then. So, there you have it. Now, Cassandra
said.
tells me this morning there's an effort to notify the people on Paso Grill that we're cutting service down there, which we did agree not to have any buses on Paso Grill. That said, the city council down there can take full responsibility for why they're not down there. Right?
Yep.
I think that means yes.
We're using sign language, huh?
So,
Only thing I would just add is, to Commissioner Barkley's concern, is specifically about the funding agreement from the city of St. Petersburg. City of St. Petersburg is PSTA has, I think, and Commissioner Long especially, has tried to reach out to all of our communities. You and I have spoke many times to the lovely city of South Pasadena and St. Pete Beach. But this, as Commissioner Long just eloquently said, this is part of a regional system that we're working on, and there are more than one city. There's actually 24 in Pinellas County. To say that one city has veto power over a regional whole system that doesn't even include it goes beyond even our county borders. It goes over into Tampa.
and their taxpayers are paying into our system anyway.
And on Thursday the 13th, a city council and a mayor who's already signed off of a fairly substantial city called St. Petersburg, which maybe has 20 times the population of the other cities combined, is going to approve funding and support for the project. We do have a commitment to continue to work with all the cities, but and the county. We are thankful that we have such a good relationship with the county that we are able to identify a turnaround that does not require St. Pete Beach to give us any land, to give us any money, to vote on it. We are addressing their concerns about Paso Grill service. So I think, as Chair Long said, we're moving forward with the project, trying to be as respectful to all the committees, all the cities, large and small, each council member, questions, trying to answer them, but that's not necessarily affecting the progress of the project.
And by the way, I happen to be one of those commissioners that represents the entire county. So given that I spent as much time working on this kind of an issue with 24 municipalities, and don't forget over 250,000 county residents, I need to have triplets that look just like me and then some to be able to keep up with that. It is an unbelievable amount of time, energy, and brain power going to one of the smallest cities in the county with not a whole lot coming back in return in terms of reasonable. So, and and it's not lost on me that in order to get to some of these other cities that are not our partners, we have to drive through, a non-participating city who enjoys the service but doesn't pay in. There's something
Yeah.
grossly unfair.
That's Commissioner Bennett's
Well, yeah, I
peeve.
know. So does that help out, Joe?
Yep. I just don't want the project stalled because of some people pulling everything up, where we
No,
would lose the federal funding
I don't
and that
think it
kind
will
of
be.
thing. Okay.
Well, I mean, you know what? Let's put it this way. You're never gonna get 100% of everybody to agree, right?
Yep.
So you have to be able to, I think that's the definition of leadership. You have to figure out what's the best thing to do and keep moving forward, otherwise we'd never make progress on anything. All right, I'm gonna stop talking. Next, Abhishek.
Well, no, the biggest, probably most important high-level discussion we're going to have at the board meeting. I'm sure there'll be discussions about all three of the action items, including the bus barriers, as we talked about. But is the presentation by Debbie of the 2020 PSTA budget, which I imagine will be a very positive, uplifting discussion that Debbie will give about all of the great work that the PSTA staff has done this year in saving money and working to save money and to bring our budget in as efficiently as it possibly can be.
I wish you could spend that kind of gold in my whole household budget. Oh, for a fee. Well, all right, I'll have to start working on that.
Yep, I mean, the staff's working very hard on lots of different activities. We had basically an entire afternoon, basically the entire day of Friday was spent on DART, on coming up, brainstorming and working with the contractor on DART to save money and be more efficient. We're working hard on that. We're working hard on health insurance is on the agenda. That's one of our biggest contracts, biggest expenses. We're working on everything. And that all culminates with our, forecasts and plans for the upcoming year in terms of the budget. So that I'm feeling pretty good on that. We don't have the presentation totally worked out yet, but it will be ready by the 26th.
Okay.
So that's there's a few things going on on our in June.
Well, don't we want to ask Abhishek if he has anything to say? Since he walked in just as we started to talk about it.
The only thing I was going to add to what Brad already said was we've got some really positive momentum from FTA as well. They actually assigned a project management oversight consultant.
That's a big deal,
to
right?
do the formal oversight. Yes, that's a big step in our project. So we got that assigned a couple of weeks ago. So we're working very closely with them on our design and cost estimates and so on and so forth.
Excellent. Excellent.
Yeah.
So
Welcome back.
welcome back from wherever you've been. So I just sent a little note to Ron and asked if he had heard anything. Are you listening, Cassandra?
I am.
About the nasty rumors going on with regard to Senator Brandis, and he's not supporting our BRT. He says, it's news to me. Did he explain why?
No.
These are rumors I think we need to verify and squelch.
Okay. are they gonna make a presentation at our board meeting, Ron Pierce and this group, or no?
No. Well, I mean, Ron just gave the summary of the legislative session that just finished. And then, like you said, he's focused on giving some sort of presentation at the legislative committee this month. Right, we're not gonna have one in July, right? A legislative, well, we'll have one in August.
Right.
And then we'll finalize the plan, the FY calendar year 2020 legislative session, legislative agenda for PSTA, August. I think he and I were talking maybe even September, and have it be approved at the September PSTA board meeting.
So that brings to mind, can we not spend a little bit of time in July and early August as they are available, just meeting with them?
Yeah.
For, slap them on the back and tell them what a great job they did,
Yeah.
kind of thing?
Yeah.
And,
That's a good idea.
didn't you tell me that we had a potential trip to DC at the end of June? We're already at June 3rd.
Yes, that was one.
Do we have that tied down?
We are working on that right now. We're trying to coordinate with FTA calendars as well to find the right time.
That would be really important. My travel schedule in June and July is getting pretty robust.
I know. That's top on our list of things to get locked down.
Good, okay.
If it's gonna happen.
Yeah, if it's gonna happen, just checking. Joe, did you?
No, I'm scheduled to go on that trip too, and I'd like to know when it is. So,
Better start taking your vitamins. No, bird rides. No, no, and no. Okay, what else, Brad?
Is that because you're fearing for his safety?
Well, yes, did you see him?
No, I know, he was doing it expertly though. I don't think you got injured, but
No.
I have been reading a lot about the injuries
yeah.
that
No.
people are getting.
Like
No.
cracking your head,
No,
stuff like that?
no. Pat and I rode those things, and several other people as well. Cassandra was riding, and yeah, we had a great time, I thought. I'm looking forward to seeing them,
They're
in
coming.
all the cities.
Yes.
Everywhere.
Okay, continue on.
I think that concludes
Yeah.
our agenda. Unless you have any
You
other
can't
thoughts.
pass the minutes.
No, we can't do anything, but we
Yeah.
got a lot of information today,
Right.
I think. But my angst is, I really respectfully apologize to our staff for taking them away from the really important work you're doing to come and we weren't able to do anything.
We live to serve.
Okay, give her another little raise. That was very good. Okay. Nothing else? Wow, that was easy. Where's my that was easy button? Okay, then I guess for the good of the order, we are adjourned, so please ask someone to shut off the whatever. Dora's always reminding me it continues to run while we sit here and
Well,
chat.
it takes them a minute to get into the room to undo it, so it's not an immediate. Should be. they should be.
Good
So-
time.
Nope.
I've got it.
They're done.
3:30.
Excellent.
They were right there.
I guess that blue light just continues to stay
At
on.
1:30.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah, that's just the power.
Maybe
That's
we'll
all.
get there.
Good to know. I just thought it was recording.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe no one's hearing
No,
it.
he does that on his
At their
computer.
office?
Yeah.